All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are decoding what feels like a high-stakes tug of war in the crypto market. You've got this massive, massive bet against Bitcoin on one side, and on the other, some really powerful signals that a major rally could be just around the corner. The tension is just building. Something's got to give. So let's break down which side really has the upper hand here. The best way to picture the market right now is to think of a tightly coiled spring. All this energy, all this pressure, it's just building and building right under the surface. You can almost feel it, right? That sense that something is about to happen. And that right there is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Is this spring gonna snap upwards in a huge relief rally, or is it gonna snap down and push us into a much deeper correction? That is exactly what we're gonna try and figure out. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the bears. There's a really compelling case to be made that the market is heading lower. And what's interesting is, it seems to be led by the actions of one very big and, let's say, very strategic player. Yeah, we're not just talking about some general market jitters here. We are tracking the specific, concrete actions of a single, highly influential trader, what we call a whale, who is making an absolutely massive bet that prices are about to take a nosedive. And look, when I say massive, I really mean it. This trader has opened a short position on Bitcoin worth a staggering $227 million. This is not some casual hedge. This is a high-conviction, all-in kind of bet on a significant downturn. So who is this mystery trader? Well, blockchain analysts have actually nicknamed this wallet the Trump Insider. Now, let's be super clear, this is a nickname the community gave it because of its history of making these incredibly well-timed trades around major economic events. It is not a confirmed identity. But the point is, this isn't seen as some random gamble. It's being viewed as a targeted move by what the pros like to call informed money. So, what's the actual game plan here? Well, first, they use 10x leverage to seriously amplify the impact of that huge short position. Then, and this is key, they moved 3,003 Bitcoin straight onto the Binance exchange. See, moving that many coins onto an exchange is like building a giant sell wall. It creates this huge supply of liquid Bitcoin that's just sitting there, ready to be sold, and that can absorb any buying pressure and pretty much stop a rally dead in its tracks. And it's not just this one whale's actions either. Some key technical indicators are flashing the exact same warning signs. You've got the MACD, which basically tracks market momentum. Well, that's crossed below zero, which is a classic bearish signal. And at the same time, the volume balance is negative. All that means is that more people are selling on down days than are buying on up days. When you put it all together, the charts are pretty much screaming that sellers are in control right now. But hold on. That's only one side of this tug of war. Now let's flip the coin and look at the other side, because there are some equally strong signals pointing in the complete opposite direction. Let's start with just the vibe. How is everyone feeling? The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is sitting at a 27. That is firmly in the fear zone. It basically means the average person in the market is feeling incredibly pessimistic right now. And that immediately brings to mind that classic investment saying you always hear it attributed to Warren Buffett: be greedy when others are fearful. For contrarian investors, seeing this much fear isn't a signal to sell. No way. It's a potential sign that the market has gone too far down, presenting what could be a perfect buying opportunity. And this whole contrarian idea, it's actually showing up in the charts too. Another key indicator, the Relative Strength Index, or RSI, has dipped below 30. The RSI just measures how fast and how much an asset's price has changed, and a reading this low is a classic textbook signal that an asset is oversold. In plain English, it means the selling has probably been way overdone and the market could be primed for a bounce. And then we have the really big one, the huge news from the wider economic world. The Federal Reserve just cut interest rates. And historically, lower interest rates, well, they make riskier assets, like crypto, a whole lot more attractive to investors who are hunting for higher returns. But here is where the plot absolutely thickens. Because this move by the Fed, it is a true double-edged sword. On one hand, the good news: cheaper money is typically bullish for assets like Bitcoin. But the bad news: the reason why they cut rates is because they're worried about a weakening job market and a potential recession. And that's bearish for pretty much all markets. This This conflict right here is at the very heart of all the uncertainty we're feeling. So, you've got these two powerful competing stories fighting for control. Where does that leave us? What happens next? Let's break down the key signals that will probably decide which side is going to win this tug of war. Right now, all of this tension has Bitcoin's price just stuck. It's trapped in a super narrow trading range, just consolidating. You can think of this channel as the battlefield. A decisive break either above it or below it is almost certainly going to be the trigger for the next big sustained move. And here they are. These are the specific lines drawn in the sand. For the bears to really take over, they need to smash through that immediate support around $107,600. For the bulls to grab control, they've got to push past the resistance at $109,600. A clean break of either of those levels could easily trigger a much larger move, either down towards $103,000 or up towards that $116,000 mark. Okay, so here is your dashboard, your cheat sheet for the next few weeks. First, watch for a daily candle to close outside of that price channel we just talked about. Second, keep an eye on that fear and greed index. If it starts creeping up above 40, that shows fear is starting to fade. Third, you gotta monitor that Trump insider whales wallet for any more big moves. And finally, mark your calendar for the next big inflation report on November 13th. That could absolutely be a major catalyst. And that leaves us with the final and most critical question. When you have a market that is this perfectly divided, with bulls and bears locked in such a tight battle, when we finally get that breakout, is it going to be the start of a new, real trend? Or is it going to be a devastating trap designed to catch everyone on the wrong side of the trade? That's the billion-dollar uncertainty every single person in this market is wrestling with right now.